Hello and welcome to Intermediate Level Yoga Routine. In today's full body practice, we'll focus on lower body, hips, and legs. When you are ready, we'll begin the session with warm up with spot jog or spot walk. If you can't jog for some reason, then spot walk, just fast walk on your mat or to the speed you can. Gentle smile on your face. We use smile to bring attention to the breath and into your body for next 30 minutes. We do our best to maintain our attention to the breath and sensations in our body. And the awareness that we cultivate here in the practice, we use that throughout the day. Come back to Tadasana, arms at your sides, lengthen your arms, press your feet well onto the ground. We are doing the variation of Tadasana with feet hip width apart. Allow your toes to lengthen. Catch your breath. Just pay attention to your breath. Don't change anything. If you are breathing heavy, just pay attention how you lift the chest with each inhalation. Allow your inner shoulders to go away from each other. That means you're widening the chest, creating tall look here. But don't be wooden soldier when you have your arms and fingers straight. There is still a degree of release here. Release and relax. Come at the front of your mat and stand in Tadasana variation with feet hip width apart. Mountain pose. Chest lifted, inner shoulders away, grounding your feet well onto the mat. Exhale and raise your arms up. Maintain the arms straight. Next exhale, lower your hips towards the ground without arching your lower back. Weight slightly shifted towards your heels. Exhale as you bend forward and bring your hands onto your legs or the mat. Legs slightly bent or straight, up to you how much opening you have at this point. As you inhale, slowly come up, roll each vertebra at a time. Come back to mountain pose, Tadasana, looking straight. Now you know the sequence. Let's do 2 more rounds of this small sequence. Exhale and raise your arms up. On next exhale, lower the hips towards the ground. Keep looking straight, arms straight, along with your arms. Let your fingers and your thumbs be straight. Exhale as you bend forward. Maintain the breath. As you inhale, straighten the legs and come up under control. Back to Tadasana. Last round, as you exhale, raise the arm up. Lower your hips towards the ground. Shift your body weight slightly towards the heels and move your buttocks towards the ground to have length in your back. Exhale as you bend forward. Bring your hands onto the mat. This time, straighten your leg a bit more to the extent you can to create more opening at the back of your legs. With inhalation, gently come up, rolling each vertebra at a time. Back to mountain pose. This time, when you are in mountain pose, pay attention to your alignment. See if you are heavy on your heels or the balls of your feet. If so, adjust the body weight evenly. Make sure you're pressing the inner and outer edges evenly onto the mat. And this strong connection of your feet with the ground, use that to lift the chest up, inner shoulders going away from each other. You are not pushing your rib cage forward, not arching at the back. Your pelvis is neutral. So if you think if you are lifting the buttocks up, then lift the front strap of your bottom up towards the chin to bring your pelvis in neutral position. Allow your shoulders to extend out to the sides and down towards the ground. Release and relax. Come into tabletop position, lowering your knees to the ground. Your hands are shoulder distance apart and your wrists are roughly in line with your shoulders. Move your knees back so that your torso is roughly parallel to the ground and your knees and your toes are roughly hip width apart. Widen the chest, allow shoulders to extend out to the sides. Just have a look at the front of your torso by moving your head. If you think you're shortening at the front of your torso, that means you're rounding your back. We want the length at the back. So move the hips back. Allow your chest to extend out to the side. That means towards your shoulders to release the round at your back. Maintain the breath. Now, while bending your left arm, slide your right arm between your left arm and the left side of your torso. So your right shoulder is going towards the ground along with right side of your head. Back of your palm is onto the ground. Slowly come up and let's do the opposite side. When you do this, make sure you're not tilting towards the one side through your hips. Come up, change, let's do 2 more rounds at your own speed. Maintain the breath and be very slow in your movement at this point. Pay attention to the breath and the length and the extensions that you are feeling in your arms and your back. Pay attention to that. Last round. Straighten your arm. Come back to tabletop position when you finish and maintain the natural breath. Engage your abdomen. That means bring the navel slightly in towards the spine to make sure you're not arching at the lower back when you're in tabletop position. From here, sit buttocks to the heels, your toes are tucked in. Then lower your left arm onto the ground. Your elbow is onto the ground. I show it here once more. You lower your left arm to bring the elbow down onto the ground and straighten your right arm. Your face is roughly parallel to the ground. And allow, through your torso, go towards the ground and allow your head, your face to go towards the ground to increase the intensity of the stretch that you are observing in your back, in your straight arm, in your shoulder, in your armpit. Maintain the breath. See if you can straighten your arm a bit more towards the front of your mat. Slowly come up to tabletop position and change. Sit your buttocks to the heels. Lower your right arm onto the mat first. Then straighten your left arm. Then bring your torso along with your head towards the ground. So your face is roughly parallel to the ground. Your left arm is extending towards the front of your mat. Pay attention to the sensations that you are experiencing in your upper arm, in your shoulder, in your hips, in your lower back. Two more breaths here. Slowly come up, back to tabletop position. Bring your hands back to shoulder distance. Make sure your knees are hip width apart and toes tucked in. Let's get into downward dog. Lift your knees up, lift your hips up. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Arms straight. Press all of your fingers and your palms well onto the ground. Press your thumbs and little finger onto the mat. Open the back of your knees. Crown of your head is roughly parallel to the ground. Maintain the natural breath. Allow your hips to move more towards the wall behind you to create the length in your back. Last breath here. Slowly bend your legs. Come back to tabletop position. We'll take a breath here and let's move back into downward dog. Lift your knees, lift your hips. This time, when you are in downward dog, just pay attention to your ankle joint. Make sure your ankle joints are not rolling in or out towards the side. Bring the evenness. Lift through your front thighs up towards the hips. Have that strong connection of your legs into the hips. And use that connection to move your hips back towards the wall behind. And when you move your hips back, visualize you are extending your back, you're creating length and making your back longer towards the ground direction. Stay in this alignment for one next breath. Take deep inhale and slow exhale. When you finish, slowly come back to tabletop position. Stay here for 2 breaths. Stay here in the tabletop position. I will quickly change my direction so that my alignment of left and right stays similar to yours. You don't have to change, just maintain your tabletop position. From tabletop, come to downward dog. Bring your feet together. Inner edges of your feet are together. Straighten your arms. Raise your right leg and bring it between your hands. Both the hands onto the mat, shoulders going away from your ears. Lift in the chest, back leg straight, left heel pointing straight towards the ceiling. While maintaining this alignment, exhale as you press your feet strongly onto the ground and lift your torso up. Bring your hands onto your hips, looking straight. And slowly raise your arms up. Lower your left heel towards the ground and come to warrior two. Just have a look at both the arms. They are in line with your shoulders and they are straight. Your torso is in line with your hips, in line with your shoulders. Slowly bring your hands to your hips, lift your back heel up. Your torso is facing towards the wall at the front. Raise your arms up, bend forward, bring your hands onto the mat, back to downward dog. Maintain the breath. Lift your left heel, left leg, and bring it between your hands. Move the shoulders away. Look straight. Back leg straight. Create that length at the front hip of your back leg. Once you are stable, lift your torso up. Bring your hands to your hips. The moment your torso comes up, your back leg often bends. So keep it straight. Then raise your arms up. Lower your left heel onto the mat and come to warrior 2. Pay attention to your torso. Make sure both the lines of your torso are in one line or parallel to each other. You're not pushing your torso towards the one side or towards the right. So there are two things: moving the torso towards the right or pushing the rib cage towards the one side. You want both the sides of rib cage in line and torso in line with your shoulders, in line with your hips. Slowly bring your hands to your hips. Lift your back heel. Then raise your arms up, bend forward, bring your hand onto the mat. Come back to downward dog. Feet hip width apart. Maintain the natural breath. Bend your legs and come to tabletop position. Bringing tops of your feet onto the ground so that your toes are pointing towards each other, but they are not on top of each other. Tops of your feet onto the ground, your toes are pointing towards each other, buttocks on the heels, and knees toward the side edges of your mat. Then walk your torso between your legs, arms forward, face parallel to the ground. Bend your arms. If you can, bring your head onto the mat. Just taking few breaths here. Feel the sensations in your hips, in your back, in your glutes, at your inner thighs. See if you can release them on an exhale. Slowly come forward. Get back into downward dog. Bring your feet together. Raise your right leg up and bring it between your hands. This time, lower your left heel onto the mat so that your right heel is roughly in line with the arch of your left foot. Then slowly come back to warrior 2. From warrior 2, straighten your front leg, extend towards the right, bring your hand onto your leg to the point you can reach. Turn your torso so that top side of your rib cage is moving back. You're opening through your chest, top shoulder moving back. Then raise your arm up, move your head back, have a look at your hand. Slowly bend your top arm, bring it onto your hip, raise your torso up, get back into warrior 2. From there, slowly bend forward towards the right and bring your right hand onto the mat. Then bring your left hand onto the mat, lift your back heel, get back into downward dog. Maintain the natural breath. Lift your left leg and place it between your hand, just like we did earlier. Bring your right foot onto the ground so your right heel is onto the mat. Then swing and come up into warrior two. Make sure your torso is in the center. Have a look at your arms, they are straight. Then straighten your left leg, extend towards the left. Bring your hand onto your leg, bring your top arm onto your top hip, and turn your torso from your abdomen to open more. So torso is not pointing towards the ceiling, ground. It's moving its back towards the wall behind to open through your chest, open through your torso. Then raise your top arm up, move your head back, and have a look at your left hand. Slowly bring your top arm onto your hip, look straight, turn your head, bend your front leg, come back to warrior two, and extend towards the left. Bring your hand onto the mat, bring your opposite hand onto the mat, and get back into downward dog. Your feet are hip width apart into downward dog. Maintain the breath. Bring your feet together. Raise your right leg. Bring it back into between your hands. While maintain the heel lifted. Bring your left heel onto the mat. And while maintaining this alignment, lift your torso and bring your hands onto your hips. Variation of warrior one. Straighten your front leg. Then catch hold of your forearms at your back. Lift to the chest, both the legs straight. Pay attention to your back leg. Then bend forward. So when you bend forward, make sure your right hip is not coming out to the side, stays in line with your right knee, right ankle. To the extent you can. Keep going. Let's do two more rounds. Bend forward and come up. Exhale as you bend forward. Inhale as you come up. One more round. Exhale as you bend forward. Inhale as you open your body, you come up. Bring your hands back to your hips. Bend your front leg. Raise your arms up. Go forward. Bring your hands onto the mat. Lift your back heel. Come back to downward dog. Take a breath here. And let's do the opposite side. Bring your left leg forward. Bring your right heel back onto the mat. Lift your torso up. Torso facing towards the wall at the front. Then straighten the front leg. Catch hold of your forearms. Bring the opposite hand on the top, this side. Open the back leg, straighten the back leg a bit more, and go forward. Come up. Go forward. Come up. Two more rounds. Maintain the breath. Maintain the lift in the chest. Release your hands. Bring your hands onto your hips. Bend your front leg. Raise your arms. Go forward. Bring your hands onto your hips. Back to downward dog. Bend your knees. Come to tabletop position. Get into Adho Mukha Virasana. Forward Virasana, just like we did earlier. Tops of your feet onto the ground. Buttocks to the heels. knees towards the side edges of your mat. Rest your head onto the mat. Slowly come up back to tabletop position. Last strong sequence of the day with all your strength, with all your energy. Let's get back into downward dog. I want you to pay attention to your sensations as well. When you use your strength and energy, don't overstretch, don't overdo. You want to maintain the intensity of the stretch to medium or slightly higher. Bring your feet together, bring your right leg between your hands. You know the drill now. Lower your left heel onto the mat. Lift your torso and come up. Bring your hands to your hips. Straighten the front leg. We are transitioning into variation of Parivrtta Trikonasana, revolve triangle pose. Raise your left arm up, bend forward, and bring your left hand outside of your right ankle joint. And come up, raise your arm up, then bend forward, touch. You can touch your ankle joint if you can't bring your hand all the way down onto the mat. And then slowly come up, go forward, and bring your hand outside of your right ankle joint. So you're twisting from your abdomen to bring your hand onto the right ankle joint. Then slowly come up. Last round here. Go forward. This time, when you're into the pose, see if you can bring that top arm. You can straighten it in line with your shoulder. Stay here for a moment. Bend your top arm. Bring it onto your hip. Slowly come up. This time, bring both the hands onto your hips. Bend your legs. Raise your arms up. Bend forward. Bring your arms onto the mat. Go back into downward dog. Well done. Let's do the opposite side. Bring your left foot onto the mat. Lower your right heel. Come up. Hands to your hips. Straighten the front leg. Raise your right arm up. Now, while maintaining this alignment, go forward. Go to the point you can, turning from your torso, then raising up. Once more, go forward. You have a few options here. Either you can raise your arm up like this, keep going, go forward, or you can raise it like this based on how much strength you have in your shoulder. Maintain the breath. Last round, straighten the opposite arm up. Slowly bend your arm, bring it onto your hip, come up, bring both the hands on your hips, bend your front leg, raise your arms, go forward, bring your hands onto your hips, both the feet together. Take one deep breath here in downward dog. Imagine your lungs are like balloons, inflating them to their max extent, and feel the expansion at the front, back, and sides of your chest when you take deep inhale. Slow exhale. Slowly bend your legs. Bring your knees to the ground. Back into tabletop position. We'll transition towards cooling poses. Lie on your mat, on your back. Arms at your sides, bend your legs. Bring your arms in line with your shoulders. Raise your knees up so that your knees are roughly in line with your hips. And move your knees towards the right. Palm facing towards the ground, looking up towards the ceiling. If you want to increase the intensity of the stretch, then use your right hand on top of your left knee, press it gently down, and turn more from your abdomen to bring the left side of your ribcage along with your left shoulder, back of your left shoulder towards the ground. Make sure you maintain the intensity of the stretch to medium or slightly higher, and you maintain the breath. This allows you to create the flexibility, length in your muscles faster than overstretching them with expectation to increase the flexibility faster. Slowly bring your right arm in line with your shoulder if you're using it on top of your left knee. Raise both the legs up, come back to the center, and go towards the left. Pay attention to the differences between the two sides. This is often the case for most of us. One side is more open compared to other. Maintain the breath. Relax your jaw, relax your face. Observe the sensation of length that you are experiencing in your back, in your arm, at your upper back. Where do you experience that? And see how that sensation is being communicated with your brain. And what will happen if you just choose to ignore that sensation that being conveyed to your brain? Does that mean you will be able to hold longer? Does that mean you are not listening to your body? Slowly bring your legs back into the center. Bring the soles of your feet onto the mat. Bring your arms next to your hips. Catch hold at the sides of your mat. Bring your heels close to your hips and place your right leg on top of your left thigh. Right outer ankle joint is onto your left thigh as high as possible, and right knee is going away from your torso. While maintaining this alignment, bring your left knee towards the left chest, shoulders going away from your ears and down towards the ground. If this is going well, to increase the intensity of the stretch, bring your hands between your legs and catch hold at the top of your left shin and gently press it towards the left chest. Be aware of the sensations and the stretch that you are creating at the back of your right thigh. Maintain the intensity of it to medium, slightly higher, so that you can maintain the breath. You are not clenching your teeth, your jaw is relaxed. It's important for our brain to know that area of your body is not in danger, to create the flexibility. If brain thinks there is danger and there will be harm, then it will send the signals to contract the muscles in that area. And this will be exactly opposite to what we are trying to achieve here. Slowly bring your left foot onto the ground, release your hands, let's change the sides, bring your left outer ankle joint on top of your right thigh, move your right knee towards the right chest, bring your hands on top of your right shin, pay attention to the back of your hips, make sure you are not tilting one side. Maintain the breath. Slowly bring your right foot onto the ground. Bring both the soles of your feet onto the mat, then straighten your legs, arms at your sides. Wiggle your legs side by side to release any tension or tightness. We'll move towards the deep state of rest, Shavasana, corpse pose. Allow your legs to roll in or out, arms at your sides, arms facing towards the ground or the ceiling, your choice. Feel free to move, adjust your back, adjust your shoulders, adjust your head and neck, and bring them into the alignment where you don't feel any discomfort. You don't have to maintain any hold on any body part. Once you are settled, bring your attention to your breath. People often find useful to pay attention to their breath to feel relaxed. Maintain your eyes closed. Any frown lines at the forehead, let them go. As you exhale, relax your jaw, relax your tongue. On exhale, imagine your shoulders are dropping towards the ground. You are not maintaining any hold on them, they are completely relaxed. Bring your attention towards the sensations in your back. If there is any hold or subtle contractions in your lower back, mid back, or upper back, see if you can release them on an exhale. Bring your attention to the sensations that you experience with the connection of back of your legs with the mat. What do you experience? Is there warmth? Is there cold? If you're curling your toes, see if you can release them on exhale. Visualize that your body is completely melting into the mat. You do not have any hold on any body part. Feel completely relaxed. Bend your arms and bring your hands on your abdomen. Bend your legs and bring the soles of your feet onto the mat. Turn towards the side and bring your arm underneath your head as support. Stay here for a breath or two before you come up. When you're ready, take support of your hand and slowly come up and sit in cross leg position. Take support of your hands beside your hips to sit tall, to sit upright. Lift in the chest. Then bring your hands to your chest in Namaskar Mudra, prayer position. Your thumbs are on your sternum, fingers together and slightly away from your thumbs. Relax your face, relax your jaw. Use inhalation to lift your trunk towards the ceiling. Use exhalation to move your shoulders down towards the ground and away from each other. With gentle smile on your face, take this opportunity to thank yourself for being engaged in the practice to build strength and flexibility in your lower body with standing poses. Namaste and thank you. Slowly open your eyes, bring your hands onto your thighs. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider giving me a like. See you next time. Till then, be your best version.